received the news of the test run of 5G, but I ask myself, 4G has been around for so long. Where in which part of the country? What's the coverage of this so-called 4G? In Lagos, there are several places. There are a few places you go in a city like Lagos where you can find 4G. So let us first maximize 4G before we begin to talk about 5G.
It's a wonderful experience, and it's a new development. It's historic in its own sense that Nigeria is the first country in West Africa to demo 5G, and it's something that will take to the banks, because other African countries other West African countries, including other African countries, will also come to Nigeria, as always, to come and look at or study our model and how we have gotten this far. But whether it is going to have a pervasive effect is a different ball game, because I don't think that the size of the country that MTN has the capability to make it pervasive. So it depends on how other operators key into it immediately that will make us understand it and make us really enjoy it and have the essence of 5G. But so far so good. It's a good step. It's a good direction.
5G has been tested in Germany, and it has come to Nigeria on a demo. However, I think what is important to us here in Nigeria is the consolidation of 4G services first before venturing into 5G. Let us consolidate delivery of 4G services. As I'm talking to you now, 4G services penetration in Nigeria, I don't think it's up to 20%. So why the rush? The first thing first, consolidate 4G, then while we watch development in the 5G space, than clouding into 5G when 4G is yet to have its footing on the ground.
Well, I think the trial of 5G is a step in the right direction. It shows that we're moving at the same pace with other developed countries. People are planning to launch 5G in 2020, so it's high time that we start trying out technologies like this. If we're thinking of IoT, if we're thinking of robotics, if we're thinking of things like artificial intelligence, then this is the way to go in terms of technology development in the country.
But I think what the industry stakeholders or the country should be looking at is the infrastructure, because even the spectrum alone, Ireland is about $1.something billion. So if you have the spectrum alone, having that, you can imagine the structures and the facilities that is going to run on. You understand what I'm saying? So the government needs to actually be up at doing to make sure that we are not left behind, like other nations. So they should be proactive, so that at the end of the day, we'll be able to ride smoothly and not that way. Even though we'll be having some itches, they will not be major itches. So, and there is need for funding. So they shouldn't just depend on the operators alone. If need be, incentives and subsidies should be given, even though we know we are not patrons of subsidy, but because of the impact it will make on the nation, cut across every aspect, whether security that we are grappling with and every other thing, the economy and other. I think that 5G will be something that will take us to a level that is quite unimaginable.
Well, as much as is a good development for the technology evolution around the world, but Nigeria and Africa as it is, I don't see us being ready in the sense that the current 3G, 4G that we are running, we are not even having the right infrastructure, the supporting infrastructure is not there. And if you look at the broadband penetration, the technological access in the country, it is kind of city-centered and all that. So we first of all need to concentrate our effort in ensuring that a large proportion of the country is covered with the existing infrastructure or the technology that is in vogue before we can now start to think of how we can key into the 5G technology. But as it is, generally, it's about 5G is about enhancing and making the smart city, the e-governance thing happen. But we need the infrastructure which we don't have on ground at the moment.
My concern is that we've not really utilized the 4G network we have here. A lot of people are complaining because so many things we need to do with 4G that we've not been able to do, and then we are going to 5G. Is it because we are just trying to catch up with others, or that we are ready for it? The truth is, we are not ready for 5G. 5G comes with a lot of things, but we need to utilize the one we have first. Let's utilize 4G properly first before we begin to talk about 5G. It is a welcome development, but then for me, before we start doing anything like deployment now, let us first exhaust what we have in 4G before we begin to talk about 5G. 5G is good, but then, because if you can't be talking about smart connections, you can't be talking about artificial intelligence and the rest of them without 5G, without having them. But then, have we really enjoyed the 4G that are the operators are currently deploying? We've not.
The truth is that we can't wait while the world is moving forward. But in the real sense, we've not exhausted the potential of 3G to 4G. And again, there are also challenges in going to 5G. You talk about the infrastructure. We don't have the infrastructure. And government is not ready to provide infrastructure. Rolling out 5G service is not something that you do only for a specific set of people. Let me give you an instance. There's one company in Lekki, Smart Focus. They are doing a 5G service. They are rolling out a smart city solution. And for you to have such, and they've invested so much in building infrastructure for that solution. And that solution allows you with your mobile, your smartphone, you have access to your house. Even if you're in London, you have access to your house, what is going on in your house. But it took them 2 years to build infrastructure to be able to launch that solution. And they're doing it basically in Lekki area and Ikoyi. Now, we are talking about something you will have roll out 5G, which is a smart, which powers a smart city solution. And you don't have infrastructure. It's not something that you just do a test run and you go back. I think the best thing for us is to start, because there's one recent report that says that it is going to take quite some time for Africa, emerging markets, to start experiencing 5G, going by what is on ground in emerging markets, including Africa. So I think the best thing is that for cities that are advanced, like in Lagos, Port Harcourt, we can be talking about 5G, but let us exhaust the potential of 3G and 4G in other hinterland.